A lot of things changing in Warzone these days. Do you have any idea what gun you should be using? Like most things, what the pros are using is not necessarily the best thing for you to be using. So in this video, I'm going to use data from the man himself, JGOD, to prove that the PKM is still king in the long-range TTK or time-to-kill area. But I'm also going to present some other really good options for you if the PKM's long reload time is an issue for you. Okay, so we're taking a look at JGOD's long-range TTK chart. So the first thing that's worth mentioning here is I think the PKM is still king for long-range TTK. Okay, so if there's one gun you're going to use to get the best long-range TTK, especially if you're a beginner or an average player, you're right around a 1.0 KD or lower, you're an average player like the majority of players are, and the PKM is going to be a great gun for you to use because we're not engaging people at less than mid-range generally. Okay, mid to long range, the PKM is king, as we can see here. We've got a big mag that's base, 100 rounds base, okay? We can do 3,000 damage per mag, which means that potentially we can down 12 players, which is, if we were totally accurate, it'd be, 3 full quad teams, but more likely it's going to be 1 or even 2 is possible. And then we can full players, 6.7 players fully, we can take them out of the game all the way. For long-range TTK, that leads. The PKM leads in all these categories I'm talking about, okay? We've got a practical shots to kill of 8, which is really good. And the long range time to kill is 560 milliseconds. That is the fastest long range time to kill of any gun on this chart. Now the PKM does have a long reload time, 7 or 8 seconds. So if you're worried about that, if that's going to bother you, remember you can wipe a lot of players before you have to reload. But if reloading is an issue, the Stoner is a great option. The Stoner has a 75 round base mag. We can down 9 players. Okay, so that's still really, really good. We can full 5 players. All right, that's really good. We have a 584. The Stoner is number 2 on the long range TTK on this chart. So it is not a slouch. It is a good option, especially if you're worried about the PKM's long reload time. The Stoner does have a slow ADS time. The PKM has you can use a tac laser, but if you're worried about the reload time, the Stoner is a good option. And both these guns, the PKM and the Stoner, are really good with the recoil. The recoil patterns are really easy. They're not difficult at all for even for a beginner or just an average player. I'm in that category. I'm an average Warzone player. I can beam people from 100 plus meters away with either one of these guns, no problem. So I'm sure you could too. All right, so let's take a look at the recoil pattern for the PKM. That was, it looks like, 66 rounds, 67 rounds out of a 100 round base, 100 round mag. It's vertical. It's straight up. There's a little bit of side to side, a little bit, but it's not much. It's extremely easy to control. This is a fantastic gun. This is one of the main reasons why the PKM is the best gun for beginners and average players. Okay, so here's the meta build for the PKM. The only thing worth mentioning that I want to say about this is that the tac laser is essential. This is where we get the upgraded ADS speed, which makes it quicker in that regard than the Stoner. Okay, so the tac laser is essential. It also gives you some stability as you're aiming down sights. So you're going to see some other PKM builds out there that have like different stocks on them or a rear grip of some sort, but those aren't the best options. Go with the tac laser. All right, so let's take a look at the recoil pattern for the Stoner. Alright, so you can see that was the entire base mag, 75 rounds, and it goes almost straight up. There's very little side-to-side bounce, hardly any at all. It does go up and to the left just a bit and then breaks to the right, but it's pretty much vertical. This gun is very easy to control, and that was an entire mag there, and it barely hit the top of that wall. So the Stoner is a very good option, especially if you don't like the long reload time of the PKM. And this is the build you want to use in the Stoner. Okay, you've got the agency suppressor. This is going to help with the range and damage as well as keeping you off the minimap. It's pretty typical. And then the 21.8-inch task force barrel. This one gives you the most benefits, I think, for the things you're looking for, which is maximum damage and range. And then you're going to want to use. I like the 3 times. That's usually my go-to in the Cold War weapons. The SAS combat stock it really increases your speed with this gun. This gun does have better mobility overall than the PKM, and it's because it's a Cold War gun, but the SAS combat stock helps with that. And then the field agent grip, That's going to help reduce and help you control what little recoil there actually is with this gun. So I think this is the build for you. Now, if LMGs are a little too slow for your gameplay style, you like to rush more, you like being really mobile as you move around the map, more mobile than you can be with an LMG. Now, remember with LMGs, you can have an SMG or something fast in your back pocket. You can switch to whenever you're moving. But if you still want to be that fast with an AR or with your main gun, the FARA is a really, really good option. As of the recording of this video, it's, I think, your best option. The FARA has really good TTK. Over here, it's at 684. The AMAX is 667, but it has a bit tougher recoil pattern. It's not considered a lower skill weapon. The AMAX is considered a higher skill gun. Same thing with the XM4. That's, in my experience, XM4 is no good at range. Okay. Same thing with the Cold War AK, no good at long range. FFAR, no good at long range. If you're a beginner or just an average player, I would not recommend using those. I would skip all the way down to the FARA. This thing can be a laser beam. As an average player, I can beam people with this from 100 plus meters away. To me, it's as easy to fire, almost as easy as a sonar and PKM. And you do get way better movement. You're way faster with this gun. So, I mean, it does still, you can still down, 6.2 players. I think it's a really good gun. It's a really good option. And the recoil is definitely better than all the other guns I mentioned. So I would definitely go with that if the LMGs are not your thing. Okay, now let's take a look at the recoil pattern for the FARA. Okay, so this is the build I've been using, and it's really, really easy to control. Look at the magnitude. It's about half as high as the PKM. So it doesn't have a lot of recoil. Those bullets are in a straight row. I mean, there is no side to side in this thing at all. It does first cut to the left or cut to the right just a bit when you first start firing it, and then it goes up and to the left a little bit. This thing feels a lot like a kilo. It really does. It's very accurate, very easy to control, and it does good damage. So it's a great option, especially if you want a more mobile gun than an LMG. So on the FARA, I don't have this thing completely leveled up yet, but I can laser people with this thing from far distances with not even all of the attachments unlocked. So start with this build when you get to this point, when you're leveling the weapon. This build right here that I've got is a good option for you. The things that aren't going to change though, once you hit the 60 round, you're going to keep that, and the 3 times works really well for this gun. I do need to do more testing on the C58 and the Milano. You can see here, look at this, the Milano. JGOD's got this thing up here near the top with a 625 long range TTK. That's an SMG. I have no idea what's going on there. I haven't used it. I haven't tested it. The C58, that's so new. I haven't tested that one either, but that's got a 655. So, I mean, potentially, if the recoil is easy to manage, it does have a very slow fire rate, but if the recoil is really easy to manage and it hits hard like that, maybe that would end up being better than the FARA as an option, but I've been using the FARA a lot lately. It's good. So I think the proof is in JGOD's data. You cannot go wrong using any of these guns I talked about in this video today. And remember, Warzone is hard, but so are we.